Incredible journey, injured dog reveals hidden World War II secrets that changed a veteran's life forever. Charlie walked through the park, shoulders heavy and heart weighed down with worries. The sun hung low, casting long shadows on the beaten path as he felt the familiar pang of hopelessness clawing at his insides. It was one of those days when everything seemed lost. Emma, his spirited 9-year-old daughter, scampered ahead, her laughter cutting through the air. But even her joy couldn't pull him from the depths of his mind. He thought of the bills stacking up and his recent job loss. It's like a never-ending uphill battle. Then, out of nowhere, he stumbled upon an injured dog tied to a tree. Its fur was matted, its body trembling, but it was the gaze, those soulful, scared eyes that pierced straight through Charlie's heart. He felt an undeniable connection. In that moment, the fragility of the dog mirrored his own life. Without a second thought, he knelt down, untying the frayed rope around its neck. "There you go, buddy," he whispered softly. "You're free now." He named the scruffy creature Scout and pulled him close. As they made their way home, Emma rushed to meet them, eyes wide with wonder. "Dad! Look at him!" she exclaimed, her face lighting up with hope. Scout, still unsure, cowered slightly but seemed to sense their warm intentions. Charlie felt a flicker of something he hadn't felt in a while, maybe hope. He was still barely scraping by, but now they had an unexpected companion. In the days that followed, Scout seemed to thrive in the little backyard, digging and exploring as he healed. Then came a moment that would change everything. While digging, Scout unearthed a treasure trove of buried memories, old medals, tarnished but shining with stories untold, as well as letters yellowed with age. Charlie's father was a World War II veteran, a man hardened by conflict, a man he struggled to connect with. Some of those medals belonged to him. With trembling hands, Charlie opened a letter, half expecting the words to burn with resentment. But instead, they sang a song of bravery, of sacrifices made for family and country. Tears filled his eyes as he began to realize the story behind each letter, stories that had been buried right alongside those medals. This was his father's legacy, one that had never been shared, locked away by scars of war. The revelation crashed over him like a tidal wave, calling to depths he hadn't explored in years. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The town was abuzz with talk of the discovery, neighbors and friends stepping forward, intrigued by the forgotten heroics that shaped their lives. Each letter unearthed brought them one step closer to understanding the man Charlie's father used to be, igniting a conversation about healing, forgiveness, and the burdens of the past. But as revelations unfolded, cold doubts lingered too. Would this newfound knowledge bridge the rifts that had grown between father and son, or would the pain and secrets of war consume them all? Charlie found himself wrestling with the legacy left behind, his heart both heavy and hopeful, a tight chest wrapped in the fierce embrace of uncertainty. He looked at Scout, who wagged his tail as if to say, "We're in this together." Could love, after all, reshape the ties of family? The journey was just beginning, and both Charlie and his father would have to face the storm that lay ahead. As dawn broke, a gentle light spilled into Charlie's kitchen, illuminating the remnants of yesterday's emotions. Sitting at the table, he watched Emma and Scout play outside. The two made an unlikely pair, the joy of a child intermingling with the cautious curiosity of a dog finding his place in the world. But Charlie could hardly join them. The letters lay open on the table, their words lingering in his mind, a soft echo of voices long gone. He remembered his father's silence, the way it had filled the house after those lonely conversations. Those letters cast a new light on the man who had been a distant figure in his life. The door creaked open, and Emma burst in, her energy uncontainable. "Dad!" Scout found something else. She held a piece of metal in her tiny hand, an object glinting in the sunlight. Look. What is it, sweet pea? Charlie felt a rush of love for his daughter, but his heart carried a weight. What if Scout dug up more secrets? Would he be ready to uncover them? It's a pocket watch, Dad. I think it's broken, but it looks so cool. Her eyes sparkled, and Charlie could see the glimmer of something magical in her discovery. Her excitement ignited a flicker of curiosity in him too. He knelt beside her, taking the watch gently and examining the intricate design. Indeed, it looked vintage, bearing the marks of time but holding a beauty in its decay. Yeah, it does look cool, he smiled, masking the turmoil bubbling inside. It might have belonged to someone special. Can we clean it up? Maybe we can find out who it belonged to. Emma's enthusiasm washed over him like a fresh breeze. Sure, let us do that, he said, feeling warmth spread through his chest. It wasn't just the watch, it was about connecting with the past. He could almost hear his father's voice urging him on. Together, they spent the morning polishing the watch, their laughter ringing out, a melody of hope against the backdrop of history. As they meticulously cleaned the watch, Charlie thought about the letters. Each word was a doorway into the man his father had been, but each revealed pain as well. Could he unlock these doors without stepping into shadows? Would the revelations only unearth more wounds? A knock on the door startled him. It was Mrs. Jensen from next door, carrying a plate of cookies. I heard about what Scout found, she said, a twinkle in her eye. Is it true? Are you uncovering your father's history? Charlie nodded slowly, seeing the fascination growing in the older woman's face. Yeah, I guess you could say that. Just trying to understand him better. Well, be prepared for a journey, dear, she said softly, her gaze piercing right through to his heart. Finding the past doesn't always lead where you want it to. But it's where we begin to heal. Her words hung heavy in the air, and for a moment, Charlie felt like he was standing on the edge of something vast and uncertain. Healing sounded great, but deep scars often run deeper than time itself. Later, as Emma and Scout played in the backyard, he sat on the porch, the pocket watch resting on his lap, pondering Mrs. Jensen's warning. He stared at Scout, who was wagging his tail, unbothered by the complexity of the world. Am I ready for this? Charlie whispered into the cool breeze, voicing his uncertainty. He felt the weight of generations press down on him. Could these discoveries mend or shatter what remains of his relationship with his father? The sunlight began to dim as evening approached. In the distance, Charlie could hear laughter spilling out from the park. It reminded him of the moments he shared with Emma, pure and uncomplicated. But this journey wasn't just about his father anymore, it was about him, about Emma. What if those letters revealed secrets that changed everything he thought he knew? Charlie's heart raced, leaning into the unknown. Would uncovering the past heal him, or were there lands best left uncharted in this incredible journey? The next morning felt different, charged with new anticipation. The sun broke through the clouds, bathing everything in a crisp, golden light. Charlie finished breakfast, his mind racing through what Mrs. Jensen had said. The pocket watch weighted heavily in his pocket, a tangible reminder that perhaps hidden truths awaited him just like the last lingering remnants of night. Emma's laughter echoed from the backyard as she threw a stick for Scout, her hands animated, her joy a balm to Charlie's restless heart. He watched them, caught up in their little world of simple happiness. But the questions pressed against his thoughts like waves crashing against a shore. What did you hide from me, Dad? He whispered to himself, grabbing a cup of coffee. He settled into the porch swing, its wood creaking under his weight. The letters, already opened, haunted him with unasked questions. It was time to dive deeper. Tomorrow, he promised himself, would be different. Today, perhaps it was just about listening. Emma bounded upstairs to grab her sketchpad, a newfound hobby. She picked up a passion for art that reminded Charlie of his own childhood dreams. He marveled at how quickly she was growing, realizing that every moment mattered. Can I draw Scout, Dad? She called from above. Of course. He replied, the edges of a smile creeping onto his face. A sudden thought cut through his moment of tenderness. Why not dive into those letters together? A way to understand his father, a way to share their own journey. He wanted Emma to feel the weight of their family history, the stories buried beneath the surface. Minutes later, Emma was back outside, sketchpad in hand, her cheeks flushed with excitement. Look! I'm gonna draw Scout right now. Beware. He might try to steal your crayons. Charlie chuckled, a playful glint in his eyes. As Scout leaped to bark at an imaginary foe, Charlie felt the familiar warmth spread through him, easing some of the tension that choked his thoughts. They continued to play while Charlie occasionally stole glances at the pocket watch resting between them, its polished surface catching the morning light. But as the day wore on, the thrill of exploration invigorated Charlie. A sense of purpose blossomed within him. Let us clean the watch again later and look at those letters. We can do it together, he said, planting the seed of adventure in Emma's mind. Her energy was infectious, and there was a gleam in her eye. Yes. I want to learn more about who it belonged to. Okay, but first. Charlie hesitated, sensing an unexplained shiver of dread as he considered the contents of the letters. He thought about the stories, the heartbreak, and the silence he'd faced with his father. Would he be able to share those feelings with Emma? In the middle of his thoughts, Scout started barking at the edge of the yard, fixated on a spot behind the garden shed. What's up with him? Charlie wondered aloud, curiosity creeping into his mind. Guided by instinct, he and Emma dashed over, adrenaline kicking in. Scout! What is it, boy? Emma called. As they reached the wooden structure, Charlie's heart skipped a beat. The dog was digging furiously, sending dirt flying everywhere. Whatever he had found was buried deep, and even Scout's enthusiasm seemed to pulse with urgency. What's hidden there, buddy? He whispered, unsure of what they might uncover this time. His heart raced with excitement and fear. Was there another secret waiting, one that would change everything again? As Emma knelt beside Scout, eager to help dig, Charlie felt a strange sense of dread and hope rumbling in his gut. Would this unearthing lead them to the past, or open up old wounds that had yet to heal? Come on, Dad. Help us. Emma's voice pulled him from his thoughts, and as he joined them in the digging, a possibility ignited in his mind. What if this discovery changed the way he viewed his father's choices forever? Charlie dug deeper, hopeful yet apprehensive. What lay beneath, waiting to be found? Would it be another piece of the past that lightened their journey, or a bombshell that rocked their world? As Scout's paws worked vigorously at the earth, the energy surrounding Charlie and Emma crackled like a live wire. The dirt flew, obscuring the bright sun as it blurred their vision. Each time Scout's paws grazed against the soil, Charlie felt a mix of excitement and fear twist inside him. What could they be about to discover? His mind flickered back to the letters, the pocket watch, the secretive nature of his father's life. Those secrets had always lingered on the edges of his understanding, cloaked in silence and distance. The thought of unraveling another chapter felt both thrilling and terrifying. Look, I found something! Emma exclaimed, her voice rising above the excited yipping of Scout, who seemed to sense the importance of their excavation. She pulled at a tangle of roots and debris, revealing something that sparkled beneath the grime. What is it? Charlie's heart raced as he leaned closer, brushing away some dirt with his hands. The sunlight caught a sleek object, a metal box, dented and weathered, its edges worn from years of hiding. Holding his breath, Charlie exchanged a glance with Emma, whose eyes were wide with wonder. Do you think it's treasure? She asked breathlessly, her imagination soaring. Maybe, or maybe it's just history, he said, trying to maintain some sense of caution. With each tug, the box resisted, caught in its embrace of the past. Letting out a determined breath, he gripped the edges and pulled. With one final yank, the box came free, falling with a soft thud onto the grass. The moment felt electric, a hush fell over them as they stared at their discovery. Should we open it? Emma asked, her voice small, laced with a mix of excitement and reverence. "Absolutely," Charlie replied, pushing down his own rising tide of anxiety. He fumbled with the rusty latch, the aging metal protesting as it creaked open. The box revealed its secrets slowly, a plume of dust swirling into the air. Inside, a collection of letters, photographs, and what appeared to be military medals lay neatly folded, waiting patiently to be held once more, Emma gasped. "Wow! Look at all that!" Each item told a story. Old sepia-toned photographs captured men in uniform, their faces filled with youthful bravery. Letters had ink that had begun to fade but still held sentiments of love and longing. One medal, shining amid the chaos, caught Charlie's eye. As he picked it up, a surge of emotions cascaded through him. Was this his father's? Did it speak to a larger story of sacrifice and heartache? He glanced at Emma, who was kneeling beside Scout, gaping at the treasures of memory. Suddenly, the weight of his father's past felt heavier than ever. Charlie had always known his dad as the quiet man who seldom spoke of wartime, but these artifacts hinted at experiences untold. They hinted at a legacy filled with unprocessed pain but also courage. What if these letters are from someone important? Emma mused, her innocent curiosity pulling Charlie back. He refocused, determined to uncover the significance of each piece. The excitement of exploration blossomed within him. As they sorted through the letters, a strange urge to fully understand who his father had been surged in Charlie. Would he find a voice for all those conversations left unspoken? But amidst this excitement, a shadow of worry lingered. Would the truths he uncovered change his relationship with Emma? Was this revelation a gateway to healing or a plunge into deeper pain? Charlie took a deep breath, feeling the past swirling around them. He looked at the glint of history in the open box and felt the time stretching ahead of him, beckoning him to dive deeper. With each piece he pulled out, he realized this could be a turning point not just for him, but for Emma, too. "Let us go inside and read these together," he suggested, his voice steady but his heart racing. "Okay. I can't wait," Emma squealed, excitement bubbling in her as she bounced beside him. As they headed back, the afternoon light dimmed slightly, shadows creeping across the yard. But within them, hidden truths began to emerge. Questions rising like steam off a hot cup of coffee. What unimaginable stories would unfold? And what lessons would they carry forward from this journey through the past? Charlie's mind raced at the thought. Would he be ready for what lay ahead? Would Emma's understanding of her family deepen or shatter? The pull towards the past was undeniable, but the path forward seemed just as uncertain. Would they close the door on buried pains, or would opening the box reveal something even more beautiful? As they stepped into the house, the air felt thick with anticipation. Charlie placed the metal box on the kitchen table, its worn surface reflecting beams of sunlight piercing through the window. Emma perched on the edge of her chair, eyes gleaming with a mixture of innocence and wonder. "What do you think is in the letters?" she asked, her fingers brushing against the edges of the box, as if afraid to disturb its mysteries. Charlie unlatched the box's lid once more, taking in the sight of the letters stacked like a timeline waiting to be read. "I guess we'll find out soon enough." He picked up the top letter. The writing was elegant, a stark contrast to the wear that surrounded them. He unfolded it carefully. The first few lines immediately drew him in. "My dearest Clara." "Who is Clara?" Emma whispered, leaning closer. "I don't know yet," Charlie replied, a knot forming in his stomach. He glanced at Emma, her young face etched with curiosity and concern. This wasn't just a story about the past, it was a puzzle weaving through lives that had come before them. As he read on, the words drifted from the page like whispers across time, confessions of love, dreams, and the fears of a soldier awaiting return home. Images of his father's silence began to unfurl, cloaked in images of a life he had never fully shared with Charlie. "It sounds like he loved her very much," Emma said, her eyes wide. Charlie nodded, feeling a surge of emotions he didn't expect. Would this new understanding shed light on the man he had known so little? He reached for another letter, its envelope yellowed with age. The words inside penned were more desperate, filled with longing and uncertainty. It spoke of nights filled with silence and the haunting dread that danger could snatch everything away. Charlie wondered if his father felt those same fears when he held his own loved ones close. "Charlie, look at this!" Emma exclaimed, interrupting his thoughts. She held up a photograph of a young man in uniform, his smile radiant and infectious. "Is that him?" Charlie studied the man's face, squinting at the name scrawled on the back, his father's name, alongside the date stamped just before deployment. "Yes, that's definitely him." A wave of connection washed over him. "This is so cool. Can we keep the pictures?" Emma said, cradling the photo like a treasure. "Of course." Charlie smiled, but beneath the surface, his heart was pounding. This wasn't just cool. It was uncovering layers of love and sacrifice he had never acknowledged. As they continued, each letter unfolded another layer of grief, battle, and hope. Some letters were written during wartime, revealing fears, loneliness, and the camaraderie that bound soldiers in ways ordinary life could not. Through these words, Charlie was getting to know a side of his father that had always remained in shadow. Suddenly, he stumbled upon a letter addressed to my beloved son. His pulse quickened. Was this meant for him? The words within were filled with raw honesty, regrets, and a yearning for connection. "I hope one day you can forgive me." Charlie's breath caught. What could his father be asking for forgiveness for? It opened a door to a new level of understanding, but now questions surged like waves. He realized that the weight of his father's secrets was tied to the burdens they all carried. Emma's voice pulled him from the tempest of his thoughts. "What does he mean?" Charlie closed his eyes for a moment, grappling with that sinking feeling that perhaps some mysteries were best left unspoken. But was turning away from the truth really an option? With each new letter, he felt a kind of liberation, yet uncertainty hovered like a cloud. Could this journey through painful history help heal the rifts in their own lives? "I think we need to keep reading," he said softly. The uncertainties loomed large, but he needed to know. As they dug deeper into the letters, shadows flickered outside, a reminder that the world kept moving, even as the past demanded its rightful place. Charlie couldn't shake the feeling that the heart of the story still lay hidden, and every new revelation carried weight, demanding to be understood. What was his father hiding? Would the secrets they uncovered bond them more closely or tear them apart? Charlie turned another page, the door to the unknown slowly creaking open, and he prepared himself for whatever truth waited inside. The next letter was tucked beneath the others, almost like it was trying to hide. Charlie's fingers trembled as he pulled it out, the paper crinkling softly. It felt heavier in his hands, as if it carried more than just ink and words. "Who is it from?" Emma asked, visibly anxious, leaning closer to him. "Looks like it's from Clara again," he said, noticing the familiar looping script. This letter seemed different. It was dated much later than the others, and the tone felt more urgent that he began to read aloud. "My dearest Henry, I write this with trembling hands. The news from the front grows worse by the day. You need to know how deeply I love you." Charlie felt a wave of emotion wash over him. This wasn't just the story of a couple separated by war, it was a desperate plea. He could almost feel Clara's heart beating through the words, linked to a man who was supposed to be home, holding her hand, and instead was miles away in a foreign place. "What happens next?" Emma asked, her voice barely above a whisper, caught up in the tension of their discovery. "Just a minute," Charlie replied, his throat tight. It's not easy. Keep reading," she urged, eyes bright with a mix of concern and fascination. As Charlie continued, Clara spoke of her resilience, speaking of hope as a delicate thread binding them together. She wrote about their dreams, plans for a future, ways they would make up for lost time. Her words dripped with longing, but there was something else. She dropped hints of fear that gnawed at him. "Charlie, look." Emma pointed at a small, dark stain on the edge of the letter. "Is that?" "It looks like a tear," he replied, tracing the spot with his finger. "Maybe she cried while she wrote this." Do you think she thought she'd lose him? Emma asked, wide-eyed. Maybe. I think everyone knew there was a chance Charlie struggled with the heaviness of history, of war, and its toll on lives. The past was not just a series of events, it carried grief, heartache, and unanswered questions that he turned to the next letter, eager to uncover more. Okay, here's another one, but as he unfolded the letter, he was met with something shocking. Oh, no Emma, this isn't right. His voice shook, disbelief washing over him. What is it? The letter spoke of betrayal. In Clara's frenzied writing, she detailed an encounter that shattered everything he thought he knew about love. Henry, if only I'd known the truth. Her words spiraled around a storm of infidelity, leaving Charlie feeling hollow. How could she? Emma gasped, her innocence cracking like glass. Charlie stared at the words, confusion swirling within him. I don't understand. This letter places his loyalty into question. If she loved him so much, why would she? The questions hung in the air, permeating the quiet of the room. The letters, which had seemed like tender expressions of love, now shifted into a deeper complexity. He struggled with the raw emotions. Were these just two people trying to navigate an impossible situation, or was it something darker? He inhaled sharply. Maybe both of them were just trying to survive. Love gets complicated in war. Emma frowned. But that doesn't make sense. So who do we believe? Charlie set the letters down, staring at them as if expecting answers to leap off the page. His heart raced with the weight of this double-edged truth. The journey into his father's past was turning into something more painful than he could have imagined. We need to find out what happened next. There must be more letters, he murmured, flipping through the bundle anxiously. As they uncovered another stack, a nagging thought lingered. Facing this truth might change everything he believed about family, loyalty, and the bonds that tie them together. Emma hesitated. What if it's too much? What if we can't handle it? He looked into her eyes, knowing this was uncharted territory. We won't know until we keep reading. But inside, uncertainty gnawed at him. What if the revelations waited ahead were even darker than this? With a deep breath, he picked up the next letter, feeling the uneasy pull of destiny tugging at his heart. Little did they know, the most shocking truths were still waiting, ready to reveal secrets that had remained buried for decades. Charlie's fingers trembled again as he unfolded the next letter. It felt as if time itself held its breath, waiting for something monumental to break free from the pages. He glanced at Emma, her expression a study of apprehension tinged with curiosity. Ready? He whispered, trying to inject some bravado into the moment. Emma nodded, her gaze steady despite the quiver in her hands. Okay. Here we go, he said, clearing his throat. The light in the room flickered, casting shadows that danced on the walls as Charlie began to read. Dear Henry, he read slowly, I can hardly write this, but the truth has become a beast that has lurked in my heart too long. I must share with you the moments that led me down a path I never expected. He felt Emma's breath hitch. Clara's words painted a scene, a vivid tapestry of confusion and regret woven into the war-torn backdrop of their lives. What began as a vivid recollection of stolen moments shifted, unraveling into admissions that felt like a confession. Clara was confronting herself, Emma murmured, biting her lip. What else is she revealing? Charlie pressed on, determination fueling his voice. Clara talked about a soldier named Peter. His name was a stark contrast to Henry's, each letter a stabbing reminder of what could have been. As Clara narrated, an unexpected friendship formed in the chaos of the war. Doubt clouded the air. Could this connection have evolved into something more? Heart-racing, Charlie could feel the weight of her betrayal becoming more tangible with each word. The very love letter that had felt like a lifeline now transformed into a tightrope strung over a deep chasm. After all this time, did she still love him? Emma questioned softly, glancing at the letters scattered on the table. Or was she trying to convince herself? I wish I could ask her, Charlie replied, shaken. But the more we read, the more complicated this becomes. There's so much pain behind her words. He returned to the letter, reading about Clara's torn loyalties. She described sitting in a small cafe, the laughter of soldiers surrounding her, and how Peter's kind eyes had made her feel alive. In her guilt, she mused whether longing could justify betrayal. Was she searching for solace, or was it a fleeting solace she couldn't resist in the shadow of war? "I can't believe I'm reading this," Emma said, her voice barely above a whisper. She loved him but was drawn to someone else. How could that happen? In that moment, Charlie felt the past crashing against the present. Could love really be to blame for hurting those we care about most? Or was it merely an echo of the struggle to find light in darkness? The letters weren't merely love notes anymore, they were a complex narration of human frailty. Finally, he finished Clara's letter. It ended abruptly, as if even she couldn't truly put into words the mess she had found herself in. "What do we do now?" Emma asked, her eyes wide, fear mingling with an intense yearning for clarity. Charlie glanced at the stack of remaining letters, each one promising more secrets, more insight. "We keep going," he said with a mix of excitement and dread. "Every letter is a piece of the puzzle. We owe it to them to uncover the truth." The silence hung heavy as they prepared for another journey into Clara's world. But even as they gathered their resolve, a sudden chill swept through the room. It felt as though the floor shifted beneath him, the ground of family history trembling. A precarious knot twisted in Charlie's stomach, the weight of hidden truths growing heavier. With a deep breath, he set his gaze on the next envelope marked with the familiar, yet ghostly, handwriting of Clara. What would unfold next? What other chapters of fidelity and betrayal lay hidden within the confines of the letters? Charlie hesitated, fingers hovering over the last letter. Let's dig deeper, he decided, the thrill of discovery battling against a deep-seated fear. But as he prepared to read, a voice echoed in his mind, flickering like the fading light in the room. What if the next letter brought devastation? Instead of understanding? Charlie took a breath, a mix of anticipation and dread swirling in his gut. The familiar blue ink danced on the envelope like a ghost beckoning him closer. He could feel Emma's gaze drilling into him, both of them caught in the gravity of the moment, unwilling to unravel the tensions swirling in the air. "Let's see where this one takes us," he said, heart beating in sync with the rustle of parchment as he tore the envelope open. He pulled out the letter, feeling its weight, the slight crinkle of age setting an ominous tone. "Dear Henry," he began, the name echoing with a haunting familiarity. "If you are reading this, then my courage faltered when you needed it most. I've fought many battles within myself as much as against the enemy, and this is one I cannot bear alone any longer." Emma leaned closer, her eyes scanning the words as if they might hold the answers to unasked questions. Each line unfolded like a hidden doorway, revealing worlds of sorrow and longing. "She's addressing him differently," Emma whispered, almost to herself. "It feels more personal, more desperate." Charlie nodded, and the tension in the room thickened. Clara continued, her vivid memories pouring forth like a stream. She wrote of nights spent wandering through bombed-out buildings, of fleeting fears masked by fleeting feelings of companionship. The letters began to create a mosaic of a woman torn between loyalty and a yearning buried deep beneath layers of societal expectations. As he read, the words became heavy with unfulfilled promises. Clara recounted a moment in the heat of battle, when Peter had saved her from an oncoming blast, an act that had left her starstruck and breathless on the brink of an emotional cliff. "In that moment," she wrote, "I saw the best of humanity, and in my unguarded heart, I felt guilt transform into something dangerous. There it is. The turn," Charlie said, feeling the familiar ache within him grow. "She can't deny that something was shifting. This connection, it might be love." Emma suddenly grasped his arm, her eyes wide as realization struck. But what about Henry? How could she do this? Through Clara's ink, anguish transcended time. Guilt and yearning twirled in a dance, pushing her forward yet holding her back. As they dove deeper, Clara expressed fears of being judged for these feelings, the societal chains that bound her to Henry, the risk of devastating heartbreak. Charlie felt tears well up in his eyes. What was this journey of betrayal really teaching him about love? Was it right to question fidelity when faced with such turmoil? Everyone, it seemed, had their own battle to fight, a struggle between promises made and a pulse of longing that echoed louder than any spoken vow. "We owe it to them to understand," Emma urged, her voice trembling with unspent emotions. As Charlie turned the page, ready for the next section, a chilling realization sent waves of dread through him. The door creaked ever so slightly, and shadows morphed behind him. "Do you hear that?" Emma whispered, eyes darting to the edge of the room. Just then, a soft, barely audible sound like a sigh slipped through the air, mesmerizing them both. "Maybe it's just the old house settling," Charlie said, trying to dispel the tension. But he couldn't shake the feeling that someone, or something, was listening. With a fleeting glance at each other, they both knew one thing: they were not just uncovering Clara's story. They were unwittingly unlocking secrets tied to generations before them, exposing a truth that perhaps should have stayed buried. What if we're not the first to hear these letters? Charlie wondered aloud. A chill crept up his spine. What else might we awaken? Without reply, they stared at each other, caught between the allure of these letters and the unease creeping up their backs. As the next letter waited ominously for them, they both held their breath, knowing full well that the next chapter could echo with consequences neither were prepared for. Charlie steadied himself, the words of Clara beckoning him back in. He took a deep breath, feeling the cool air from the window wafting in, mingling with the tension like an unwelcome guest. Emma's grip on his arm tightened, both a comfort and a warning. It was as if they were standing on the precipice of something monumental, with echoes from the past vibrating through the very walls of the house. That he turned the page, anxiety coursing through him as he read on. "Henry, forgive me, but I cannot pretend any longer. The heart can only hold so much before it bursts, and mine is ready to explode." The desperate longing in Clara's words washed over him, resonating painfully with Charlie's own conflicted emotions. "Whoa," Emma breathed, leaning in closer. "What is she saying?" "She's at a breaking point," Charlie replied softly, his own heart racing. "Maybe she's finally ready to face her true feelings." With each sentence, Clara laid bare her turmoil. She wrote about stolen glances with Peter and shared laughter over simple meals. How the sound of his voice was like music in the chaos of war, making her feel alive when everything else felt suffocating. Charlie's heart ached for her and for the weight of the decision that lay heavy on her shoulders. Should she choose love over loyalty? Emma asked, her voice trembling. Or does duty always come first? Charlie could hardly respond. He understood the pull of loyalty, the resonance of commitment. But the truth was also clear: love was a force unto itself, and Clara was ensnared. The frayed threads of her heart were stretching taut like a bowstring ready to snap. As they immersed themselves in Clara's world, the quiet house felt less like a home and more like a vessel of memories and of spirits barely contained. The sigh they heard before now echoed louder in Charlie's ears, each wave coupling with his rising anxiety. Do you think Clara is still connected to this place? Like, in spirit?" Emma's eyes darted around the room, their initial curiosity morphing into a flicker of fear. "I don't know," he stammered, stumbling over his thoughts. All around them excitement mingled with dread, and he felt a chill run down his spine. Deep down, he sensed they were not alone. What if this is more than just letters? What if Clara's choices led to consequences that could still be felt today? Both of them froze at the weight of that idea. They were peeling back a layer much thicker than words scribbled on yellowed paper. They were hovering over hidden emotions and uncovered tragedies. The exploration of Clara's heart was becoming a mirror to their own conflicts and desires. Suddenly, as if to punctuate the air between them, a loud bang resonated from the other room. It sliced through the tension, sending shivers racing up Charlie's arms. Emma jumped, her eyes widening in raw alarm. "Did you hear that?" she squeaked, her voice scarcely a whisper. Without waiting for a response, they shared a look fearful yet electrified by the thrill of the unknown. Charlie stood up, the letter slipping from his fingers as if destiny called him forth. Let us go see, he insisted, heart pounding, slipping into what felt like a hunt for truth that transcended time. Whatever this is, we need to know. Hand in hand, they moved toward the source of the noise, driven not just by curiosity, but perhaps by something deeper lurking within the walls. What revelations lay ahead? What shadows would they uncover? As they neared the darkened doorway, the shadows loomed larger, and the air thickened with secrets craving to be told. What if Clara's story intertwined with their own in ways they couldn't yet fathom? Little did they know, the next turn would not just shift their understanding of the past, but reshape the future they thought they knew. As Charlie and Emma stepped cautiously into the adjoining room, an overwhelming sensation filled the air. Dust danced like tiny fairies in the fading sunlight as they surveyed the scene. The old trunk, long forgotten in the corner, stood ajar. Its lid hung precariously, revealing a chaotic spill of belongings that seemed to reach out for attention. The noise had come from there. What if it's more? Emma whispered, her wide eyes betraying both curiosity and fear. Let us find out, Charlie replied, his heart throbbing with anticipation and worry. Together, they approached the trunk, an anchor of stories from the past and a vessel of buried emotions. Every inch of the fabric covering it whispered secrets, and Charlie felt a familiar tug at his heart. This was his father's world, one he had never fully understood. That he crouched down, slowly lifting the trunk lid higher. Inside, alongside worn uniforms and old leather boots, lay family photos, dusty books, and what looked like a small journal. This was my father's, he mumbled, the realization washing over him. Each item was a seed of understanding waiting to sprout into something new, a desperate connection to the man whose silence had loomed so large in Charlie's life. What's that? Emma pointed to the journal, its cover cracked with age yet still holding a glimmer of dignity. I think it's a journal, he said, feeling a rush of emotions. I need to see this. He pulled the journal from its resting place, gently brushing off the dust. Emma leaned closer, her little fingers tracing the edges of the cover. It felt electric as Charlie opened it, the pages yellowed yet alive with stories waiting to be remembered. They both leaned in as he began to read aloud the opening line. June 6, 1944. Today is D-Day, he read, his voice a mix of reverence and disbelief. Our landing was chaotic. I lost many good men. But for each sacrifice, we have something to fight for. Emma's breath hitched. What did he mean? Charlie paused, feeling the weight of words etched in ink. Hope, I think. Strength amidst chaos. As he read on, the entries painted a vivid picture of his father's experiences during the war. Each capture of emotion was a time capsule revealed through a soldier's eyes, fear turning into bravery, sorrow entwined with hope. This is so personal, Emma murmured, her light gaze somber now. He really fought for something, someone? Yes, Charlie replied, feeling a deep connection with his father, one that had eluded him for years. Suddenly it hit him, through this journey, through Clara's letters, through Scout and his discoveries, he wasn't just uncovering the past, he was opening a channel of understanding, healing, and connection with his daughter. Dad, can we keep reading? Emma urged, her excitement rekindled. Charlie felt a sense of unity settle around them, a warmth spreading from their joined hands to touch every corner of his heart. Absolutely. These stories deserve to be honored. He opened to another page, the ink still rich and vivid, alive with memories. July 5. Clara has been writing me. Her words are my lifeline, it's what keeps me going, he read. In this hell, her letters spark joy, imagining the life we will rebuild together. But their essay's shadow lurking doubt is a toxic whisper. The tension in the room shifted, replaced by a shared understanding. Each entry was peeling back layers of his father, a man who had been distant yet deeply human. Charlie could feel the essence of sacrifice and yearning, and a realization dawned within him. Maybe his silence wasn't just pain, maybe it was fear of revealing too much, he said, glancing at Emma, who was wrapped in attention. Fear of burdening us with the weight he had carried. He wanted you to be you, Emma whispered softly, her little heart understanding the complexity of love and duty. Like how Scout helps us. Yes. Charlie smiled through the tears welling in his eyes, seeing the beauty of their journey intertwining. Each act, each bond, even the hard choices lead us here. As they continued reading, the dynamic of the past bled into the present. They discovered stories of brotherhood on the battlefield and found echoes of Clara's love and pain, mirrored in the struggles every family faced throughout the years. With each new letter and diary entry, Charlie realized they stood not just as readers, but as a bridge connecting generations, learning, healing, and embracing the whole spectrum of humanity. Hours slipped by, the sunlight dwindling outside. Each letter transformed their understanding of family, love, and loyalty, creating room for healing. Eventually, Charlie closed the journal, a comfort settling over him. I think, he paused, gathering his thoughts like precious gems stumbling out of the rough. We can lay down the burdens of the past, share our layers, let the new weave into the old, like a legacy of stories. Emma squeezed his hand, eyes beaming with trust. Can we tell Scout? She giggled, breaking the solemn air. He deserves to know. We wouldn't be here without him. In that moment, laughter filled the room, light spilling through cracks. They realized love was not merely a bond, it was woven with resilience, forgiveness, and courage. They weren't done uncovering the past, but they were now ready to embrace each discovery as it shaped their lives moving forward. Let us go outside, Charlie said, standing up. We need to celebrate. As they stepped into the backyard, Charlie took a deep breath of simple joy. Emma raced to Scout, pulling him close in her tiny arms. We did it. She squealed, joy lighting up her face. Charlie watched them until his heart swelled, gratitude overflowing. He could feel his father's legacy intertwining with theirs, igniting a fire that promised to burn brightly. They were not just rewriting stories, they were transforming old photographs into family murals, blending fear with resilience, and honoring sacrifices with love. Time to create our own unforgettable stories, he said, joining their playful circles, laughter filling the air. And somewhere deep down, he knew the healing of the past had only just begun. The journey continued, not just with Scout, Emma, and the treasures unearthed, but within the foundational love that would guide them forward. As the golden sunset bathed their world in warmth, an unspoken vow settled around them. Together, they would face whatever lay ahead. That if you're moved by this incredible journey, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support for the stories that inspire and transform. Hit that like button now to fuel our mission and help the algorithm reach those who need to be uplifted. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this ending. Your thoughts matter, and we want to hear from you. And finally, wait not even one more second to share this with at least 5 friends who need to experience this change. Let us spread the love and healing together.